So in this lesson we're going to go over the basics of adding in sound for Unreal 4 and kind of showing you the different ways that you can place sound in a level but also play sounds if you're doing actions through a blueprint or something like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is basically show you where you can get sounds, where you can use free software to edit sounds, and the kind of file format that you probably should be using for Unreal 4. So the first thing that you should do is, if you're using Unreal 4 at home, is download Audacity. It's a free sound editing tool, and it works on Linux, Mac, and Windows. Another great website that you probably want to sign up to, it's free again, is freesounds.org. Here you can get royalty-free sounds as well. And another cool thing that you can use is BFXR. I can't show it you here because I don't have Flash installed on my computer, but you can download a standalone version of it as well. And it's just a really cool way of generating sound effects. The only thing is it's kind of more for like retro games, so like 8-bit, 16-bit style games. Before we go any further as well, you kind of want to think about why you're adding in sound to your game. First of all, you probably want to add atmosphere to your game, and this could be like, a kind of happy type game, or it could be really ominous. And the way you do that is, well, one of the best ways of doing that is through sound. The next thing is giving the player audio feedback, and this is really important. So you want to let the player know if they've done something good or bad, or if something's happened in the game. So The Legend of Zelda has that chime when you've kind of completed a puzzle. But you have other things like if you're getting hurt by an enemy, you want to make a sound so the player understands exactly what's happening. And then lastly, it's also sound is a great way of adding weight to your mechanics. Okay, making them feel more tactile and making the world more believable. So gunshots, door openings, footsteps, that type of thing. You kind of want to add that into your game. So I'm going to show you how to download some sounds from freesound.org, and then I'm going to show you how to edit them inside Audacity. So I've got this kind of indoor footsteps on concrete sound here that I want to use, but it's a single sound, okay, and it contains multiple footsteps. What I want to do is break them into single sound files for each footstep. I'm not going to do all of them, but that way then I can reuse them however I feel fit inside Unreal 4. So I'm going to click on this. You do have to sign up, it is free, and then I'm just going to download. That's fine. And then I've got Audacity here open, and I'm just going to drag and drop it into Audacity. And I'm just going to read the files directly, just because it's faster. So in here, if I press play, you can hear the sounds. What I want to do is I want to just hold down control and zoom in, and I want to pick out individual footsteps. And you can kind of see that this here area is probably an individual footstep. So if I press play here, yeah. So once I've got that area selected, all I want to do is just go File, Export Selected Audio. And the file format that you want to use is just the .wav, okay, which I've already got selected. I'm going to create a new folder, just call it Footsteps. And I'm just going to call this here foot 1 and save that. And then I'm going to grab another one, press play, export that selected audio, call it foot 2, and then I'll do a third one, so this here. Then go File, Export Selected Audio, foot 3, save that. And then I'm not going to save any changes in Audacity. So that's all I need Audacity for, was really just to break up those sounds and save them out. If I go into Unreal now, I've got an audio folder already set up here. I'm just going to make a new subfolder and call it test 2. And I'm going to drag and drop my footsteps in here. So I'm going to relocate those footsteps, grab them and place them inside my folder. It's probably a good idea to save all at this stage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sound cue out of these. So basically a sound cue is a bit of scripting, not too heavy or anything, where I can drag and drop in multiple sounds if I wanted to, and then randomly choose between those sounds whenever the sound cue is being played. So every time we have a footstep, it's not going to be the same footstep all the time. It's going to have some variance on it. To do that, I'm just going to grab my first one, right click it and go create cue. And foot cue should be fine for a name. With these here sounds as well, if you press play, it will play the sound. Next thing, open up the sound cue. And you can see we've got that first foot one in here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the other ones in. And the sound cue editor is basically like a very basic blueprint. On the left hand side you've got your details. On the right hand side you've kind of got this palette. These are kind of like nodes that you can drag and drop in. At the top here you've got your save, find in content browser. You've got play cue, okay, which will play the cue, or if you select a node it will just play that single node. And what we want to do is we want to right click here and just put in a random node. And since we've got 3, I'm just going to add a new input and we're going to plug these in here. Plug that in there now. So every time that we play this cue, you can see that it's going to random select one of these. It's a bit low, so I'm going to put the volume multiplier up, maybe to 4. And that seems a lot better. The pitch we're going to leave, but that's our sound cue created. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to add this to the character movement. So whenever the character is moving along, it's going to play a footstep. Now you could do this in blueprints, okay, but there's a really easy way of doing this by going to your first person folder, going into your animations, and then double clicking on the first person run animation. And I'm going to delete these ones I've tested. But basically, whenever your character's moving, it's going to be playing this animation, okay? Now you have this section in Unreal Animations called Notifies, where basically you can add events. So when it's playing along this animation, if it comes across anything, it will do that thing. And what we can do is we can right click here, add a notify, and tell it to play a sound. Click on play sound. We can choose the sound that we want to play. So I'm going to go to audio, test 2, drag in my sound cue. And then I can do that. I'll probably have 3 of these in here. So play sound, foot cue is fine, play sound, foot cue. And you can kind of move these about so they're spaced out properly. If we press play now, 3 might be too many, so I'm just going to have 2 here. There we go. But if I go play my game now, press play here, you can see whenever I'm walking, or you can hear whenever I'm walking, it's playing the sound. So that's adding footsteps, which is pretty simple. The next thing that we can do is we can start adding in some ambience to our level. Okay, so if I go to test 1, what I've done is I've downloaded basically this kind of drone noise. Again, I just got this from freesound.org. You don't have to use the exact same noise or anything like that. I don't even have to make a sound cue out of this. I can just drag and drop it into my level. And I'm going to put it over near the door just so I can see it. If I press play, you can hear the sound is playing. It's kind of got this ominous, really atmospheric sound. But what if we wanted this to only only the player would only hear it if it was close to it? Well, there's a really easy way to do that as well. If I've got my sound cue selected, I can basically come over to my details panel, and what I want to do is I would just want to override the attenuation settings, and attenuation is basically kind of like a light radius, only it's a sound radius. So if I select that, you can see that this sphere appears, and basically if I'm inside the sphere, this sound will play its loudest. If I'm outside of it, and you can't see this yet, but there's another sphere there, whenever I'm inside the second sphere, and the further away I get to the first one, the less sound I'll hear. What I want to do is, I want to go into the overrides for the attenuation, and I want to bring down the fallout radius, or distance. That's the kind of second sphere. I'm going to save this, press play. So I can't hear the sound yet, but when I walk over here, it'll start to come in, fade in, and then the closer I get, it'll be up full volume. So that's how you kind of add in atmosphere to your game. The next thing I'll show you is how to add in some reverb to your level. To do this here, what we need is a new volume. So if I type in sound, I'll type in volume, sorry, and it's called audio volume. What we can do with this is, whenever a player is inside this, we can kind of change the audio effects, and kind of the best one to do with is the reverb, so that kind of echo that you want to have. So again, with any volume, you want to place it in an area and make sure it covers that whole area where the player is going to be. So if I'm outside here, the volume is not going to affect me, but when I'm inside, it will do. Again, there's a few settings that we have to change. So the first one is a reverb effect, okay, which we don't have created yet. So what I'm going to do is go to my task 2, go to right click, go into the sounds, and I'm going to add in a reverb effect, and I'll just call this cave. Double click that, and there's a few settings that we want to change. So the first one is the decay time. Is basically, the larger this is, the kind of it'll simulate how large a room, okay, you're going to have. So if you're going to have a pretty small room, you'd want it small. If you're going to have a big cathedral type room, you'd want it pretty big. And then the reflections delay is another one. So this is the time between the listener receiving the direct path of sound and the first reflection. So whenever you make a footstep, you'll hear that. And then this is how long until you'll hear the echo effect. And this goes up to 0.3 of seconds, okay? So it sits on 0.007 to start off with. What we'll do is we'll put the decay time pretty high, and we'll press save. And then we'll just drag this into the settings for our volume. And for the volume of this, I'm just going to put it up just so we can test it better. Save that, press play. So you can hear my sound effects for the footstep. And then when I walk in here, they'll start to echo. I've already added a sound to my gun effect. I'll show you how to do that. But you can see with the gun, okay, it's working there. But when I go in here, it should echo. So that's how you set up a reverb effect. And there's a lot of different things that you can add in here that you could look up yourself in the documentation. So I'll just go into the blueprints and show you how I set up that shooting sound effect. So I did this in my fire function, okay? So my fire function is just spawning a bullet, It's doing it 3 times. But what I want to do is before I spawn my bullet, I want to play a sound. So I'm going to pull out from this. I'm going to get the sound, the node play sound, but it's play sound 2D. So this just means that it's not going to be playing in a location, it's kind of more playing inside the player's head. Select asset. So if I type in pistol, we probably should have a shot. There we've got a fire one. There might be a fire cue, yeah, so it'll take, you've got 5 different fire waves here, or fire sounds, and what it's, the project already has a sound cue where it's choosing randomly between those different 5. If I click on this down arrow, I can set up concurrency settings, so this is like how many of these sounds can actually be played at any one time. I think by default it's like 16. And you can change the amount of volume that it's using the pitch as well in the start time. But if I save that now, press play, you see I've got my fire one. If I come down here, you've got your echo. So that's how you play a sound kind of in the player's head. Another one I'm going to show you is, if I go to my blueprints, I've got this barrel, okay? If I press play, oh, I'm just going to check something. So I've got this barrel, whenever I shoot it, it explodes, but there is no sound. And whenever we play a sound, I don't want to play that sound inside the player's head. So what I can do is, I can go into that explosion, type in play sound, and I'm going to use play sound at location. There's a few settings in here that you want to choose. So the first one is what sound that you want to use. So I'm going to type in explosion. I think there's a few in here already. So you've got this explosion cue. So there's a rocket launcher explosion cue. We'll use that one. Location. I'm going to get the actor location for this blueprint. So wherever this is spawned, it's going to play the sound in that location. You can change the volume, pitch, and everything like that there. But one other thing is the attenuation settings. Okay, there's a few already in here for explosion and stuff, but we can create our own. So if I right click, go to my test 2. If I right click and go to sounds, I can go to sound attenuation, and I'll call this explosion test. Open that up. And basically in here it's quite similar to what you had in that drag and drop scenario where we drag the sound into our level. You've kind of got the radius where the player should hear the full sound, and then the fall off distance, okay, which is set to 36 meters at the minute. I'm going to put that fall off distance way down to maybe like 10 meters, and that should be it for that. And then for attenuation settings, I'm going to just use that explosion test. I clicked on that arrow because I know I've got that selected in my content browser. So now when we press play, it's a bit low, so I'm going to multiply this by 4, press play again. There we go. And if I shoot this from far away, shouldn't be able to hear it. If I get a bit closer, it should be faded. Yeah, it's not as loud. And you can do that for everything. Like you can have like whenever you kill an enemy or destroy a target or anything like that, you can play a noise, which is really cool. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some music. So I already have downloaded the Doom kind of main song from the original one. And what I want to do is just drag and drop that in, okay? Now I don't want to have any attenuation settings for this because I kind of want to hear this no matter what distance I am away from this icon. But if I play this, it seems fine. I forgot I changed that. When you originally do this, put this in. Thing you mightn't be able to hear, but I am at the minute, is whenever I'm in that reverb volume, it's actually adding reverb to the music, and that's something we don't want to do. Okay, if I open up this sound, the way that we can stop this is by creating a sound class. Okay, so if I go to my test 2 folder, right click, go to sounds, go to sound class, and I'll just type music test, open that up. In here we kind of got settings. You can do some scripting in here, but really what we want to do is this reverb section we just want to turn off, and we want to just say that it is music. Okay, if you save that, go to my sound class. Now I know I've got this selected in my browser, so I can just click on this. That means that this here sound file will take all the settings from this sound class that we've created. So now whenever we press play and go in here, the music will no longer reverb. So that's the basics of adding sound into your game. There's not much to it. It's kind of really basic scripting or drag and drop really, and creating things such as cues, sound classes, or attenuation settings. But just make sure that you've got sound in your game, because in terms of presentation, it adds a lot to it.